Tuesdays have a strange way of rearranging my life. Not the loud kind of disaster you see coming, but the quiet sort that hides in the corners until it decides to step into the light. That night, the house was still except for the hum of the refrigerator and the dull scrape of a garbage bag sliding out of the bathroom can. I wasn't thinking about anything deeper than getting the bins to the curb. And then I saw it. A plastic stick balanced on top of tissues and receipts. 2 blue lines, clear as daylight. For a moment I just stood there, caught between 2 futures. One where I was about to become a father, and another where I was about to learn something I couldn't take back. My chest tightened, not just with panic, but with a flicker of excitement I didn't expect. Amanda and I had been together for 4 years. We talked about marriage, about kids, about building a life worth more than the paychecks I hustled for. Maybe this was the start of it. Maybe it wasn't planned, but maybe it was ours. I walked into the living room holding it like evidence of a miracle. Amanda was curled up on the couch, glass of wine within reach, her phone casting a cold glow on her face. The sight didn't match the script in my head. Wine and pregnancy don't belong in the same frame. "Amanda," I said, my voice thinner than I wanted. She looked up, slow, like I'd interrupted something important. I lifted the test between us. No gasp. No widened eyes. Just a pause, then a sip of wine. "It's positive," I pressed, hearing my own confusion spill out. Are you?" That was when her expression shifted. Not joy, not fear. A smirk. A quiet, cutting curve of her lips that told me everything I didn't want to know. "You," she said, setting the glass down. "Relax. You're not the father." The words didn't land all at once. They hit in fragments, breaking something I thought was solid. The room felt smaller, colder. She looked at me like I was the last one to get the joke, like my whole life had been an audition I didn't know I was failing. And that was the exact moment Tuesday stopped being ordinary. The silence after her words stretched longer than it should have. I could hear the clock in the kitchen ticking, each second louder, mocking me. She didn't flinch, didn't blink. Just sat there with that smirk, as if she'd rehearsed this moment, and couldn't wait to deliver her line. 4 years. 4 years of rent checks, late-night takeout, fixing her car when it broke down, telling her I believed in her passion projects even when they drained my savings. I thought we were building something. Apparently, she was just rehearsing exits. "You're serious," I finally said. My voice came out quieter than I expected. Amanda shrugged, leaning back into the couch like she was bored of the conversation already. "Why are you acting so shocked? Don't be dramatic." Her casual dismissal was worse than shouting. If she had screamed, if she had cried, maybe I could have believed there was a shred of conflict in her. But this was indifference sharpened into cruelty. I put the test down on the table between us. The little blue lines stared up, no longer symbols of hope but of betrayal. "Pack your things," I said, steady, almost too steady. That got her attention. The smirk faltered, just slightly. "Excuse me?" "You heard me," I said. "Tonight." She blinked, then laughed, an ugly, short laugh meant to fill the space where my anger should have been. "You're kicking me out? Just like that? You're pregnant with someone else's child. What part of that do you expect me to negotiate?" Her eyes narrowed, testing for weakness, waiting for me to crack, to beg. That was her fuel. Drama, chaos, scenes she could twist into sympathy later. But I didn't give her the show. My chest burned with rage and humiliation, but underneath it all, a colder part of me had taken over. A part that didn't tremble. A part that was done. She scoffed, grabbed her phone, and started dialing someone, loudly on speaker. "Pick me up. I'm done here," she said into the air. Her voice was theatrical, dripping with false confidence. I turned away, walked to my office, and shut the door. My pulse hammered, but my mind was already working faster than it ever had. This wasn't just an ending. It was the opening move in a game she didn't even know she was playing. The house was quiet after she left, but it wasn't peace. It was the kind of silence that hums against your ribs, heavy and restless. Every room carried the echo of her, the perfume she sprayed before leaving for errands, the jacket still hanging by the door, the coffee mug she always forgot to rinse. For the first time in years, I realized I didn't know if any of it had ever really belonged to her, or if she had just borrowed my life like a costume. I sat in my office chair, staring at nothing. The hurt was there, buried under layers of shock. If I let it surface, it would crush me. So I didn't. Instead, I let the anger settle into something sharper, something colder. It felt like metal forming inside me. Most people break when they're betrayed. They shout, they beg, they make themselves small. I didn't. Maybe it was because of the way she smirked when she told me. Or maybe it was because somewhere deep down, I'd always suspected she was performing. Either way, I knew I wasn't going to be her casualty. Hours passed. I didn't sleep. Instead, I started moving through the house with purpose. I gathered her books, her scattered clothes, every framed photo that had our faces side by side. I boxed them up, labeling each one with neat precision. It was cleansing, like stripping mold off a wall. But the turning point didn't come from cleaning. It came when I picked up the tablet we kept in the kitchen drawer, the one we used to stream recipes and random shows. I powered it on, expecting nothing. What I found instead made my pulse spike. Her cloud account was still logged in. A careless mistake. The screen filled with her life. Messages, photos, conversations she thought were gone. They weren't. She had left me a map to the truth, and in that moment, the game shifted. I realized something. Amanda didn't just cheat. She curated an entire illusion. Different men, different masks. And me, I was supposed to be the safe fallback. But not anymore. I closed the tablet, the decision crystallizing. This wasn't about mourning. It wasn't about revenge for revenge's sake. It was about exposure. If Amanda wanted to play games, I'd show her the cost of being careless with people who only look quiet. The transformation was complete. I wasn't the betrayed man anymore. I was the one holding the match. The tablet became my lantern in the dark. Every swipe uncovered another layer of betrayal, each message a new cut I refused to bleed from. There were photos of dinners she said were client meetings, hotel receipts under the guise of weekend workshops, strings of texts where she played the devoted girlfriend to one man while mocking him to her friends. I should have closed it, spared myself the sickness crawling up my throat. But I didn't. I read everything. Every cruel nickname, every two-faced exchange. Amanda had built a stage where she was the star, and the rest of us were props she rotated in and out. Around 3 a.m, I pushed away from the desk. My body felt wired electric. This was the breaking point, not when she told me I wasn't the father, but when I realized the pregnancy wasn't just a mistake. It was a tactic. A way to secure the best option, out of the men orbiting her. The weight of that truth pressed hard against my ribs. 4 years of my life had been invested in someone who saw me as a placeholder. And yet, beneath the rage, there was clarity. She thought she was untouchable because no one had ever forced her to face herself. That would change. I started small. A notebook, a pen. I wrote down names I had pieced together from the messages. Derek, Julian, Leo. Each of them served a purpose for her. Body, money, fantasy. 3 pillars holding up the house of lies she built. My dilemma was simple but brutal. Let her keep weaving, or pull the thread until everything unraveled. If I moved forward, there was no going back. No forgiveness, no second chances, just the deliberate dismantling of the life she thought she controlled. I caught my reflection in the darkened window, eyes sunken, jaw set. For a moment, I almost didn't recognize myself. I wasn't grieving anymore. I was calculating. And the thought scared me, but it also steadied me. When dawn finally broke, I had already chosen. This wasn't about hurting her the way she hurt me. It was about truth. And sometimes truth burns hotter than revenge. I closed the notebook, my decision sealed. Amanda's smirk was about to disappear. The dominoes didn't fall quietly. They crashed one by one, each louder than the last, and I didn't have to touch a single piece after setting them in motion. The first message reached me through silence. Amanda's number lit up my phone with texts that started sharp. "What did you say to Derek?" Then grew frantic. I didn't answer. But I already knew what had happened. Derek, the trainer, had seen the screenshots. His pride, carved from muscle and sweat, couldn't survive being called a dumb toy by the woman he thought adored him. From what I heard, he confronted her at the gym in front of everyone. The image stuck in my head, Amanda cornered, her script collapsing as the audience watched. Then came Julian. The package I sent hadn't landed in his hands, it had landed in hers, his wife's. She was sharp, dangerous, a woman who knew how to move quietly but with force. Within days, Julian's empire crumbled under her precision, lawyers, investigators, partners at his firm. And Amanda? She was cut out like rot before she could plead her way back in. Her golden parachute had turned to ash. The final break was Leo. He was the softest, the dreamer. I almost pitied him. When the gossip reached him, when the screenshots of Amanda mocking his art slid into his messages, his fantasies shattered. He didn't yell. He didn't threaten. He simply vanished, his silence more final than any curse. 3 men. 3 exits. And Amanda left holding nothing. The texts kept coming. They shifted from fury to panic to something I'd never seen from her, desperation. "I need to talk to you. You don't understand. Please, just answer." But I didn't. The power she thought was permanent had been stripped away piece by piece until the smirk was gone, replaced by begging words on a screen. And then the knock came. Not a confident, echoing rap, but a timid one, the sound of someone already defeated. I opened the door and there she was. No armor, no mask. Just swollen eyes, trembling hands, a body carrying a child no one claimed. "I have nowhere else to go," she whispered. The moment should have broken me. It didn't. Instead, I felt the weight slide off my shoulders. For the first time in weeks, the air felt clean. Because the truth had done what revenge never could. It left her with nothing, and me with peace. She stood on my porch like a shadow of the woman who once ruled this house. No smirk, no fire, just a hollowed frame trembling against the night air. For years I had wondered what it would take to break Amanda's performance. Now I knew. It wasn't rage or confrontation. It was the truth, stripped of illusions, turning every mask into dust. "I'm sorry," she whispered, voice cracking. The words felt practiced, thin, like she was reaching for a lifeline she no longer believed in. Her hand rested on her stomach as though that child could soften the ruin she'd created. I didn't invite her in. I stood in the doorway, the wood frame between us like a border I refused to cross again. "This isn't your home anymore," I said. My voice wasn't angry. It wasn't even cold. It was final. Tears slid down her face, streaking what little makeup she had left. "Please. Just for tonight. I have nothing. I have no one." And for a moment, the weight of it hit me, the human wreckage of someone who thought they could outplay the world. She wasn't the woman who smirked with wine in hand anymore. She was undone. But pity is not the same as forgiveness, and I had none left to give. "You built this," I said quietly. "Every lie, every mask. I didn't destroy your life, Amanda. You did. All I did was turn on the light." Her gaze dropped to the floorboards. A shudder passed through her shoulders, the final tremor of someone realizing there's no stage left, no audience willing to clap. I had prepared everything, the papers, the boundaries, the clean break. I handed her the envelope I'd left ready on the table, her belongings, a signed statement releasing me from every tie, and enough money to start over if she dared. She looked at it like it was both salvation and exile. "Goodbye, Amanda," I said. Then I closed the door. On the other side, silence swallowed her presence until even the sound of her footsteps faded. I leaned against the wood, feeling the stillness of my home settle back around me. It was empty, yes, but it was mine again. The story ended not with fire, not with vengeance, but with absence, her absence, and the quiet promise that I would never let someone like her write my life for me again. And as I walked back into the stillness, I realized something simple, something liberating. Sometimes survival is the sweetest revenge.